Hey everyone, we are working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Yo, did the Chicago Bears just do something sneaky? Because I blinked. I literally blinked, and Andrew was out here making moves in the shadows like it's the middle of the night and nobody's watching. Two free agent signings, one on offense, one on defense. Dropped with zero fanfare, zero press conference, zero ticker tape. Just a quiet Tuesday in Chicago where the Bears front office said, yeah, we're just going to add some bodies. No big deal. And kept it moving. My name is Fave. You are locked into Favs. And if you are not subscribed yet, what are you actually doing with your life? Hit that button right now because we are breaking this down layer by layer, and by the time I'm done, you're going to understand exactly why these two so-called sneaky signings are way more important than the national media is giving them credit for. Chicago is building something, and the little moves, the quiet moves, those are sometimes the ones that matter the most. Let's get into it. So the first signing is running back Salvon Ahmed. And before you roll your eyes and say, Fave, why are you making a whole video about a depth running back? I need you to pump the brakes and actually listen to what I'm about to tell you. Because this is not just about Salvon Ahmed the player. This is about the Bears being honest with themselves about where they are at the running back position, beyond their top two guys. And that level of organizational self-awareness, that is what separates good front offices from great ones. And right now, Ryan Poles and this Bears front office are showing you exactly the kind of chess they like to play. Let me give you the background on Ahmed real quick, so we're all on the same page. Salvon Ahmed went undrafted out of Washington back in 2020, signed with the San Francisco 49ers as an undrafted free agent, and then found a home with the Miami Dolphins where he spent his first 4 productive seasons in the NFL. In his rookie year with Miami, dude put up 319 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns, also chipped in 11 catches for 61 yards out of the backfield. That is a legitimate contribution from an undrafted back. His second year, he added 149 rushing yards and 12 catches for 117 yards. Now, those aren't Pro Bowl numbers. Nobody is putting Salvon Ahmed in the conversation with the elite backs in the league. But what those numbers tell you is this. The man can play football. He is not a camp body. He is not a guy who is just here to fill out a jersey. He is a professional football player who has shown he can contribute in a real NFL offense when called upon. Now, here is where the story gets a little bittersweet. Because Salvon Ahmed's trajectory hit a serious speed bump. He missed all of last season due to an ankle injury that he suffered in training camp. And not just any injury, but one caused by a hip drop tackle, which if you've been following the NFL conversation around player safety, you know is one of the most controversial and dangerous techniques that has been getting flagged and penalized across the league. Hip drop tackles have ended seasons, and they nearly ended Ahmed's career momentum. He was with the Indianapolis Colts at that point. Didn't play a single snap in 2024, and now he's arriving in Chicago with something to prove. And honestly, I love that energy. I love a motivated player coming into a new situation with a chip on his shoulder. Here is my personal opinion, and I want you to really sit with this. Fave believes that motivated, hungry players on prove-it type signings are some of the most valuable assets a football team can accumulate. They are not coming in to collect a check. They are coming in because they need film. They need reps. They need to show the league they still belong. And that kind of desperation, in the best sense of the word, translates to effort on special teams, effort in practice, effort in the preseason. That is culture. That is what you want in a locker room. And speaking of fitting in, let me tell you about the connection that makes this signing make almost too much sense. Eric Stoodsville is the Chicago Bears running backs coach. Before joining the Bears, where did Stoodsville come from? Miami. He was with the Miami Dolphins from roughly 2016 all the way through last season. Salvon Ahmed's most productive NFL years were with the Miami Dolphins. These two men have a professional history together. Stoodsville watched Ahmed develop. He knows what Ahmed can do when he is healthy and when the scheme fits him. And the Bears run a lot of outside zone concepts, which, surprise, surprise, is exactly the kind of scheme that Mike McDaniel ran in Miami where Ahmed thrived. This is not a coincidence. This is a coaching staff going to their Rolodex and saying, we know this guy, we trust this guy, and we think he can help us. That is smart roster building. That is how you fill out a 90-man roster with purpose instead of just throwing darts at the wall. Now let's zoom out and talk about the bigger picture at the running back position in Chicago, because that is really what this signing is about. At the top of the depth chart, you have DeAndre Swift and Khalil Herbert. And I know the transcript refers to him as Kyle Manningai, but we're talking about Khalil Herbert here for the Bears faithful. Swift had a legitimate bounce-back season last year and is under contract for somewhere in the range of $8 million before hitting free agency next year. Herbert is entering year 2 of his current run as a featured back. That pairing? Solid. No complaints from Fave. If you told me those two guys are your 1 and 2, I'm taking that combination in the NFC North all day. But what happens after them? That is the question. That has been the question all offseason. Roschon Johnson is on the roster, but he has had significant trouble staying healthy and has dealt with concussion issues, which is genuinely concerning for a player whose value is tied to being a physical downhill runner. The concussion history combined with durability concerns makes him a shaky option as a true RB3. And then you start looking at the rest of the room. Britton Brown on a futures deal, Deion Henkins as a UDFA from last year, Coleman Bennett as a UDFA from this year's class, and you start to realize that if Swift or Herbert goes down with an injury in Week 6, you might be in trouble. Not catastrophically in trouble, but the kind of trouble that costs you games. The kind of trouble that makes a head coach have to get creative in ways he doesn't want to get creative. And let's not forget Travis Homer, who was a core special teams contributor for this Bears team. Homer is gone. He signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So now there is a hole on special teams too, not just in terms of roster depth at the position. Salvon Ahmed walked into that door directly. He has 110 career special teams snaps. He has experience contributing in that phase of the game. He fills the Homer role as well as providing insurance behind the top 2 backs. This signing is doing 2 jobs at once, and that is excellent value on what is almost certainly a minimum or near minimum contract. All right, let's pivot to signing number 2. And this one is also worth breaking down carefully because, just like the Ahmed signing, there is more here than meets the eye. The Chicago Bears have also added safety Anthony Johnson Jr. And again, before you click away thinking this is just a camp filler move, let me explain why this matters and what the Bears are actually doing with their secondary depth. Anthony Johnson Jr. is 26 years old, which means he is still in the developmental window where a player can emerge and carve out a genuine NFL role. He was a 7th-round pick who has spent time with 2 organizations already, the Green Bay Packers, where he was selected, and the New York Giants. With the Packers in 2023, he played in 12 games, started 4 of them, had an interception, and 3 pass breakups. That is legitimate production for a 7th-round pick who was carving out a spot on a competitive roster. With the Giants in 2024, he played 9 games with 0 starts, operating as a backup and special teams contributor. Then last preseason, he landed on injured reserve with an undisclosed injury before the year even began, so he missed all of 2024. Sound familiar? Another player coming off a lost season due to injury, another player with something to prove, another player who is young enough that the tape we already have on him is not the ceiling. It is the floor. Fave's personal take here is that Ryan Poles has made a habit of targeting exactly this type of player. Young, proven they can play at the NFL level, recently derailed by injury, and now hungry to reestablish themselves. It is a pattern, and it is working. Now, why does the Bears secondary need this? Well, at the starting safety spots, you have Kobe Bryant and Kevin Byard, 2 legitimate starters who can hold it down. But after them, the depth thins out quickly. Cam Lewis is more of a safety nickel hybrid, which gives you some versatility, but also means he isn't a pure safety if you need emergency depth at the position. You brought back Elijah Hicks, which is fine, but Hicks is more of a special teams guy than someone you want to lean on if a starter goes down for an extended period. Then you have Jervarius Owens on a futures deal, a former undrafted free agent who is probably not a lock to make the 53-man roster, and Skylar Thomas, a UDFA from Oregon State this year, who is intriguing but is again a rookie undrafted free agent. The youth and uncertainty beyond the starters is real. And let's not forget that Jonathan Owens, who was a core piece of the Bears' special teams coverage units, is no longer on the team. Every time a special teams player walks out that door, it creates a ripple effect. You need to backfill those snaps, those lanes, that experience. Anthony Johnson Jr. is a guy who has played on special teams throughout his career and can step into that role immediately while also providing genuine insurance at the safety position. 2 birds, 1 stone. Again, now here is where the plot actually thickens, because the Bears did not just sign Anthony Johnson and call it a day. Reports surfaced that Chicago has also been working out cornerbacks. Specifically, they worked out a corner named Nate Johnson on Tuesday and Sam Webb on Wednesday. Now, Anthony Johnson Jr. is primarily a safety. He can slide inside and play some nickel hybrid roles, but he is not a cornerback in any traditional sense. Sam Webb, meanwhile, is really just an outside corner. So the question becomes, are the Bears still planning to add a corner? Are these workouts leading somewhere? Or are they simply doing their due diligence and evaluating options at the defensive back position broadly? My take is that the Bears are looking at two related but separate needs. The safety depth was addressed with Anthony Johnson, but the corner depth situation is still something they appear to be evaluating. And that makes sense when you look at the roster. You have Kyler Gordon, you have Jaylon Johnson locked in as your CB1. The man is one of the best corners in the NFC, and he is finally getting the recognition he deserves. But after those two, the depth at corner is not airtight. Adding a camp body or a special teams-capable corner who can press for a roster spot late in the preseason is not a crazy idea at all. Keep your eyes on those Webb and Nate Johnson workouts, because one or both of those guys could be signing in the near future. Let's also talk briefly about the roster mechanics here, because this is the part that doesn't get enough attention in these signing stories. When you add 2 players to a 90-man roster, you have to cut 2 players to make room. Simple math. The Bears are now carrying 7 running backs after the Ahmed signing, and you do not need 7 running backs on a 90-man roster heading into training camp. So one of the UDFA backs is going to get cut. The best guesses are either Deion Henkins, who dealt with an injury last year and whose practice squad eligibility may be running thin, or Coleman Bennett, the UDFA from this year's draft class, who has not had a real chance to show what he can do yet. Henkins might also end up on the PUFP list if his injury situation is still being evaluated, which would be a different roster mechanism but would achieve the same result of clearing a spot. On the defensive side, with Anthony Johnson added, you probably have to cut one of your lower-end UDFA defensive backs, or perhaps one of your long snappers if the coaching staff has already identified their preferred guy at that position. Yes, the Bears currently have 2 long snappers on the roster. Typically, teams carry one. If they've made their decision on which one they prefer, cutting the other is a clean way to create a roster spot without losing anyone with real developmental upside at a skill position. These are the kinds of roster Tetris decisions that front offices make every single week during the offseason and training camp. And most fans don't pay attention to them until suddenly their favorite UDFA prospect gets waived and they lose their minds. Pay attention to the cuts. The cuts tell you what the coaches really think. Now let me take a step back and give you the 30,000-foot view of what the Bears are doing this offseason, because I think these 2 signings are symptoms of a larger organizational philosophy that deserves real credit. Ryan Poles and this front office are not trying to splash. They are not trying to make the back page of the newspaper every single week. They are methodically building depth at every position, identifying players who have NFL pedigree and NFL tape but are either coming off injuries or coming off situations where they weren't fully utilized, and giving those players an opportunity to compete. That is how you build a deep roster. That is how you prevent the drop-off from starter to backup from being catastrophic. Think about the pattern. Salvon Ahmed, undrafted, 4 productive seasons, missed a year with injury, has a coaching connection to the Bears staff, fits the scheme. Anthony Johnson Jr., 7th-round pick, legitimate production when healthy, missed a year with injury, young, motivated, fits a positional need. These are not random acquisitions. These are targeted, specific decisions made by a front office that has done its homework and has a clear vision of what they need. And at the end of the day, that is all you can ask of your front office. You want them to know their roster, know their needs, and make smart decisions to address those needs without blowing up the salary cap or reaching for splashy moves that look good on a press release but don't actually help you win football games. And listen, the Chicago Bears are not just building a team right now. They are building a culture. Caleb Williams is in year 2. The offensive infrastructure around him is coming together. The defense took a major step last season. The coaching staff under Ben Johnson is locked in and has a clear identity. When you are building something real, you do not just need the stars. You need the role players who understand their role, execute their role, and make the whole thing work. Salvon Ahmed and Anthony Johnson Jr. are exactly those kinds of players. They are not going to be on the poster. They are not going to be in the highlight package every Sunday, but they are going to be on the field in October when it matters, doing the dirty work that wins games that nobody talks about until they're added up in the win column at the end of the year. Let me also give you one more angle on the Ahmed signing that I haven't fully explored yet, and that is the special teams dimension. Because in the modern NFL, your special teams unit is not an afterthought. The best teams in the league, Kansas City, Philadelphia, San Francisco, at their peak, they all invest in their special teams, and they carry players specifically because of what they bring on those coverage and return units. Salvon Ahmed has 110 career special teams snaps. That is a professional special teams player. He has run down kicks, he has been on punt coverage, he has done the work that the coaches demand from their bottom of roster guys. When Travis Homer left for Pittsburgh, The Bears did not just lose a running back, they lost a special teams captain type who was reliable and experienced in that role. Ahmed can replace those snaps, and the familiarity that Eric Studesville brings to the relationship makes the transition smoother than it would be with a complete stranger. I keep coming back to the Studesville connection because in this league, trust matters. When a position coach vouches for a player, when they can tell the head coach and the general manager, I coached this guy, I know how he prepares, I know how he practices, I know what he can do, that carries weight. It reduces risk. In a league where depth signings are always a gamble because you're betting on players with limited recent tape, having a coach who has literally put his hands on a player and evaluated him in real time is a massive advantage. The Bears use that advantage here, and I respect it deeply. The bottom line on these two signings is this. They are not going to move the needle in terms of national media coverage, and that is fine. They are not supposed to. These are depth moves. These are organizational hygiene moves. These are the kinds of roster decisions that separate teams that are prepared for adversity from teams that get exposed the moment a starter goes down. The Bears are not going to be caught flat-footed at running back if DeAndre Swift tweaks something in Week 4. They are not going to be scrambling at safety if an injury hits the starting lineup. They planned for that, they addressed it proactively, and they did it with smart, targeted additions rather than panic signings. I am genuinely excited about where this Chicago Bears organization is heading, and videos like this are exactly why you need to be tuned in to every little move they make. Because none of this happens in a vacuum. Every signing tells you something about how a front office thinks. Every roster decision is a data point. And right now, the data points are telling me that Ryan Poles and this Bears front office are thinking clearly, building deliberately, and setting this team up to compete not just in 2025, but for a sustained run at the top of the NFC. Salvon Ahmed, welcome to Chicago. Anthony Johnson Jr., welcome to Chicago. You came to the right place at the right time, and if you are both healthy and hungry, and every sign says you are going to have a real opportunity to contribute to something special on the north side of this city. All right, that is going to wrap it up for today's breakdown. And I need you to do me a favor right now before you go anywhere. If you learned something, if this gave you a different perspective on these signings, if you are now more fired up about the Chicago Bears than you were 5 minutes ago, smash that like button. Right now, do not think about it. Just hit it. It genuinely helps the channel more than you know, and it lets the algorithm know that this kind of in-depth, no-filter analysis is exactly what Bears fans want to see. Drop a comment below and tell me, which of these two signings do you think has the higher ceiling? Is it Salvon Ahmed bringing that outside zone juice from Miami? Or is it Anthony Johnson Jr. proving he's still got it after a lost season? I want to read every single one of those comments. And if you are not subscribed yet, you are literally watching this channel in hard mode. You are missing content. You are missing breakdowns. You are missing the real conversations happening about this Bears team every single day. Hit that subscribe button, join the Favs family, and we will see you in the next one. Let's go.